On the topic of why I think that demonizing intentional weight loss is so detrimental is the fact that it leads to a lot of people who already experience a lot of body shame to have that shame perpetuated by both camps. The camps of people who are pro fat loss at all costs and the camps of people who deter anybody from pursuing intentional fat loss. I think there's a lot of shame that a lot of people experience from the body positivity community when they express either a willingness or a want to change their body composition, when their bodies inevitably change as a result of them perhaps accessing support that can help them move and eat in ways that are more aligned to their values. And I think it's so important to be able to acknowledge this conversation because, yes, do we need to be critical of the fact that fat loss is prescribed as this one and all holy grail thing that every single person should be doing? 100%. Do we need to be critical of the fact that so many of the body beauty standards are imposed on us within a Western society, are very much framed around whiteness, around being Caucasian, around being of a certain social status, around being heterosexual, around being cisgender? Do we need to be critical of that in considering the things that might be leading somebody to want to pursue intentional weight loss? Oh my God, yes, 100%. And I've not mentioned every single thing that we need to be considerate of, but do we need to be critical of the fact that intentional weight loss is sold to us and marketed to us as something that we need to buy our way through, as something that requires capital? Yes. Do we need to be critical of the fact that our body is used as social capital in the way that we live in the world? 100%. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that someone might inevitably feel discomfort living and existing in their bodies as they are, and we cannot deny somebody the opportunity to at least be able to contend with what it might be like for them to intentionally pursue body fat loss. And I've said this a million times before. I'm not saying that this is to be done at the expense of taking into consideration positive body image, a more neutral body image at the very least, the taking into consideration and working on self-acceptance, on self-compassion, on all of those things. I think that work precedes the actual pursuit of intentional weight loss, because that might actually help us discern whether the difficulties that somebody is experiencing within their bodies have anything to do with the amount of body fat that they're carrying or not. More often than not, they don't, but that's a story for a different day. But we do need to think very carefully about how and when we prescribe intentional fat loss, and how and when we tell someone that they shouldn't be pursuing intentional fat loss, because who is anybody to deny someone's internal lived experience of what it is like to be them in their bodies? If someone has carried more body fat their entire lives and they have experienced discrimination off the back of that, then who the fuck am I to tell them that they shouldn't be focusing on intentional weight loss? If they want to live a life that comes with less discrimination by society, who am I to say that? Does that mean that I agree with the fact that fat bodies are discriminated against? No, of course it doesn't. But how can I deny somebody the opportunity and the space to reflect and consider on what it might be like for them to change their body composition when I know that I can guarantee that we will do that work in a safe way? I know this is a really big rant. I know there's no kind of end outcome to it. I know there's a million other things that I probably want to say, and I probably will say at a different point, but this has just been going through my mind, and I'm just not loving the fact that with the increase in the skinny body, sort of like trad wife body making a comeback into society, that at the same time we've got this really loud and I think sometimes shaming narrative that is trying to proactively discourage people from pursuing intentional fat loss without taking the lived experience into consideration. And this is so complicated and so nuanced, and this video is way too long, but anyway, if you've got any thoughts on this, I'd love to hear it.